I would like to welcome you all to our program today. My name is Kathleen Saltmarsh Voss, and I am the president-elect of your host club today. And I have it's my privilege and pleasure on behalf of Rotary of Colorado Springs to welcome you. We're delighted to have you with us to participate in our 2021 World Peace and Understanding meeting. Thanks to Paul Harris and a couple of other guys whose names are really hard to pronounce, who gathered in an office building in downtown Chicago on February 23, 1905, to create something special. The anniversary of this meeting is known as World Peace and Understanding Day. Paul Harris was an attorney who wanted to create a professional group with kind of the same friendly spirit he felt in small towns when he was young. They decided to call the new club Rotary because of the rotating meeting places that they were using. The name Rotary International was adopted in 1922. Rotary International has become a service organization whose purpose is to bring together business, professional, and community leaders to provide humanitarian services, encourage high ethical standards in all vocations, and help build goodwill and peace in the world. We're committed to providing service to others, promoting integrity, and advancing world understanding. Rotary is a secular organization open to all persons regardless of race, color, creed, religion, gender, or political affiliations. Currently, there are over 34,000 clubs and well over 1 million members throughout the world. World Peace and Understanding serves as a day for every club to pause, plan, and promote the Rotary's continuous quest for goodwill, peace, and understanding among people of the world. Whatever Rotary may mean to us, to the world, it will be known by its results that we achieve. So I know that we have a lot of other clubs here, and I guess to the people that are not Rotarians, you need to know that we don't usually have this full of a room every week. We actually have at least 7 other clubs in the area, 6 other clubs in the area. And as I call out the club name, if you guys would take yourself off mute and just say hi from whatever club that you're from when I call your club's name, okay? So Rotary Club of East Colorado Springs. Do we have anybody here from that club today?
Hello.
Yay, hi, welcome. Welcome. Are there any other people from your club here on the call yet that you see today?
Not yet, no.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're here. Rotary Club of the Broadmoor District.
Hello.
Yay, hi. I'm so glad you guys are on. Is Tara on here?
Tara,
I haven't seen her yet.
Tara will be joining a little bit later.
Oh, great. Okay. Garden of the Gods Rotary Club.
Hi there, this is Bob Dahl, and there's a couple more coming in. My wife is in a meeting, but she's trying to log in on her laptop. So
Oh, good.
hi,
Okay,
y'all.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you're here, Bob, since you're important to this meeting today. So glad you made it. Rampart Range Rotary Club.
Hi, Lisa Van Camp from Rampart Range. And
Great.
Yes, they're not. Hi.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here to represent. Okay, Rotary Club of Pikes Peak.
Oh, wait, Tom.
Hold on, Kathleen.
Oh, hi, Tom.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, good to see you. How about Rotary Club of Pikes Peak?
Hey.
Woohoo! That's not you.
No, but Kathy's here. I saw Kathy.
Hi.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're here. How about the North Club, our North Colorado Springs Rotary Club?
Yeah, I'm here.
I
Yeah.
figured you guys could
I'm
do well.
here. Nice.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yep.
I'm glad. And then I might be a little biased, but how about Rotary of Colorado Springs?
Hey.
All right. Okay.
Is it the truth?
Yeah, that's true. It is. I know that some of you are calling on your phone, so you're going to miss the slides that we showed today throughout the program. But our president, Rodney Galat, he's going to be recording the program today, so you'll be able to find it on our YouTube channel later to watch. And our YouTube channel, if you don't know, is Rotary Club Colorado Springs. Those 4 words, Rotary Club Colorado Springs. But there's a few people I'd like to recognize today. Our Rotary District Governor-elect Becky Smith, and you're going to hear from her in a little bit, but she's here with us today. Thank you. Our club's immediate past president, Karen Adams, is here, and she's also our district administration and management chair. So we're even more glad that you're here. She's a pretty important person around here. Jane Hamoud is another past president of our club, and she's currently our Area 2 assistant governor. And then Jen Carver is, I believe, Jen, are you Area 1 or 3? 3, I think, right?
I'm 3.
3. Okay, 3 is still good. Okay. Well, we're glad you're here today. And then we have, let's see, George Small, who is a past district governor, I believe. And we're happy to have you here today. And Warren Hill, who is our forever guest, used to belong to our club, and he's a past district governor, and he's here today as well. So we're really happy about that. And before I turn it over to our district governor-elect to give us our words of inspiration, I just wanted to once more say on behalf of Rotary of Colorado Springs, I'm so glad that you guys are here today. Becky?
Good afternoon. I want to introduce myself briefly. I'm Becky Smith. I'm your district governor-elect, which means I will be your district governor beginning in July of this year. And just to throw it down, I'm from the Pine River Valley Best Ever Rotary Club in Bayfield, Colorado. I want to talk to you a little bit today about my childhood, only briefly. You see, I was born and raised in Denver, and my oldest sister, Sandy, loved shoes. Her collection of shoes matched her up-to-date fashionable wardrobe all through my childhood. But as a 13-year-old, I loved to sneak into her closet and put on the fanciest shoes she had. To tell you the truth, I don't think she knows even to this day that I did that. But with those shoes on, I'd stroll around her room in what I thought were my new shoes now. It allowed me to feel differently about myself, to think about myself in a more expanded way and from my own 13-year-old limited worldview. You see, today we're talking about building peace. And peace building often begins with expanding our own worldview. We're here to listen to new ideas and allow ourselves to experience new cultures with new solutions to life's problems. Listening then becomes our first step in our new shoes of peace building. If you look at me, you can see that I'm old enough to remember the 1990s when Stephen Covey was the guru of professional growth, just like Simon Sinek is the professional guru now. Stephen Covey wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in that book, he wrote that people often listen with the intent to reply rather than with the intent to understand. What I'd like to propose to you today is that people listen with the intent to affirm their own belief systems, their own perspectives. While listening to the other perspectives, we often limit ourselves by selecting only those things that fit with our worldview. Our challenge today as peacemakers is to listen with a different way, with a different intent. Let's listen to one another with the outcome of accepting new ways of addressing solutions, of expanding our worldview. Perhaps maybe we can try on a new pair of shoes. They may not fit good, they may not feel good, but they give us a broader understanding. Let's take and listen to ideas that encourage us to accept our perspective as only one small path in a highway of opportunities that build peace.
Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you very much. So please, if you would help me welcome Bob Knoll. He is from the Garden of the Gods Club. He's the immediate past president, and he's going to be doing our Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd like to lead you in the pledge to our great country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate it. I wanted to share this picture as well as part of the pledge. This is my son on the roof of a building in Nashville, Tennessee, and he had this really cool artsy idea, and I just love it. It's one of my favorite screensavers as well. Thank you so much, Bob. So, and now we have one of my most exciting things about being president next year is my president-elect, Kay Rendelman. So she is going to now lead us in the four-way test.
Hi, I first want to recognize Massimo Casanelli, who is here on this call from Bisceglie, Italy. He is the president-elect of his club. So I just wanted to say hi and recognize him. And then in everything we think, say, and do, we ask ourselves, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
The next thing is we are going to have a sing-along with Dennis Shoemaker and Karen Adams. They made this beautiful video for us. And here we go. America the Beautiful. Please join me. We have some announcements from our club, and I have some time if other clubs need to make some announcements as well. First announcement is Samantha Chapman, who's our Community Service Director for Rotary of Colorado Springs. She's going to give us an update. Samantha?
Hi, thanks, Kathleen. Thanks everyone for being here. It's definitely exciting. So I just want to give an update on our February service project. So for the month of February, our Community Service Committee is encouraging Rotarians to provide donations to Peak Vista Community Health Centers and the Men's Exchange. Just to share a little bit more about those organizations, Peak Vista's vision is to help patients overcome barriers and they have organized a community opportunity to collect basic winter needs for their patients and the homeless population they serve. With COVID, it's increased this need and many families are facing homelessness for the first time while unemployment has also increased. The items that they're looking for will help the population stay warm during these winter months. And they're looking for new or gently used or laundered blankets, new sleeping bags, tents, gloves, scarves, socks, hats, small first aid kits, backpacks, travel toothbrushes and toothpaste, flashlights, chapsticks, hand sanitizers, hand warmers, or gift cards for gas or groceries, as well as solar powered chargers. If you want to make donations, they can be dropped off at the Health Center at 304 Printers Parkway to Chad Werner, who's the Peak Vista Care Manager. And then I also wanted to share that the Community Service Fund did also approve a $500 donation that we'll be giving to Peak Vista to help purchase some of these items. And we've also submitted a request to the COVID Relief Matching Fund, and hopefully that will turn into a $1,000 donation. So we'll see if that happens. And then the other organization, or business, is the Men's Exchange, which is owned by James Proby. It's a premier men's thrift boutique that caters exclusively to men's business and professional attire and creates a sustainable revenue stream to fund their programmatic mentoring, professional appearance services, and peer programming that address men's issues in a connective, intellectually engaging way. And every dollar that's actually spent at the Men's Exchange goes directly to assisting men in our region with affordable professional work attire. So we're just encouraging Rotarians to donate their gently used suits, jackets, belts, and ties. And the Men's Exchange is located at 409 North Tejon. And then I'm going to put the link to our Club Runner event that has all this information there if you'd like to follow up on that. So any questions? I know it was a lot. Awesome. I hope you all.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samantha. I really appreciate it. Now, Jordan Davis is our International Committee Director, but she's actually going to talk local. She's going to tell you, talk to you about our BYOL gatherings. Jordan?
Yeah, hey everybody. So our BYOL, it's called Bring Your Own Laptop. And today it's me, Scott Feller, Kay Rendleman. Let's see where, there's Kay. Oh, Scott, I can't, there he is. So what we do is we meet here inside Sportivos downtown at the Antlers Hotel. And we get here about 11:30 or so. They open a little early for us, and we sit and have socially distanced socializing. So sometimes we have one table. So far, we've had two at one point. So everybody stays spaced out, and we get to talk and hang out in person. And then we all put our earphones in, if there's a bunch of us, and participate in the meeting at 12:15. So if you are looking to do Rotary and with some other Rotarians on Fridays, this is a really great place to be. And one of us, me or Kay, is always here every Friday. So make that out. And if for some reason we're not, we'll put an announcement in the bulletin and on social media so you guys know. So yay, come join us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then I have an announcement. One of our Rotarians, Dave Finkelman, has been really, really sick. And I spoke with him earlier in the week, and he gave me permission to just share this information. He thinks that he's doing a little better, but he's still not out of the woods. So because we're not together and we can't send a card around to all sign, I would really appreciate it if as many people as possible would go to his address in the directory, not go to his address, go to the address listed in the directory and send him a card. I know that he'll be super, super cheered up by that. And, you know, he's really anxious to get back to meetings with us. He's really, really missed that. And, you know, he doesn't have a whole lot of interaction with people since he's been sick, especially. So he misses our meetings a lot because I think that was the majority of his social interaction. So I really encourage you to do that. And I hope to be able to update you next week that he's doing great. So let's hope. So now I would like to introduce you to the president-elect of the Broadmoor Club, Paul Woody, who is going to be sharing our club birthdays and Rotary anniversaries. Paul?
Howdy. That's right. It's Sheriff Woody. I'm here to celebrate the birthdays and the anniversaries here in Rotary and in the district. So we got 3 Rotary birthdays this week that I was made aware of. We got John Rogers, Tina Dewey, and Carlton Brooks from our Broadmoor Rotary. So let's go ahead and give them a big round of applause. And for our Rotary anniversaries, we got 5 that I'd like to call attention to here. Alan Roth is the first and foremost. He is celebrating his 21st anniversary in Rotary. So let's give Alan a big round of applause. And then we have Liz Anderson celebrating her 6th anniversary, Andy Euler celebrating his 5th, and we have 2 first-year anniversaries with Donna Nelson and Julie Folletta Dinkle. So let's give them all a Rotary tip of our hat. And I'll leave you with a little bit of a joke. Why did the cowboy want to buy a wiener dog? Because he wanted to get along little doggy.
The Broadmoor Club's going to have a lot of fun next year. That's awesome, Paul. Thank you so much for doing that. So now is the part of the program where we honor Rotarians that we've lost in the last year. And Dennis Shoemaker is going to do that. All right, Dennis.
Thank you, Kathleen. We have 4 Rotarians who passed away within the last year. The first is from the Broadmoor Cub, John Austin Weiler. Next, from Colorado Springs Rotary, Kenneth Bruce Shinstein. Also from Colorado Springs, Carolyn Morris Brown. And finally, Theodore Temple Beckett.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Appreciate that.
Evelyn Clausen from the North Club. If we could just take a moment to recognize her.
I can give you some information on her, Kathleen.
Great. Thank you very much. If you would do that, that's great. Is this Greg?
Her husband was past District Governor Charlie Clausen, a member of our club for many years, passed away several years ago. But he was just an absolute wonderful person, and so was she. After he passed away, we made her a member of the club and an honorary member. She's been an honorary member for many years. She was 97 years old, but wonderful lady. I went to see her about a year, it was before the pandemic. It was a little over a year ago. And at 95 or whatever she was then, she was a beautiful woman, not a wrinkle in her face. She was sharp as a tack. She just couldn't get up and walk around. She was wheelchair bound, but a wonderful lady. And she was very supportive of our club for many, many years, as was her husband.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a wonderful person. Now I am hoping that that this presentation my mom is going to do is going to inspire you. Advocacy comes in many forms. Today it comes in the form of the woman who taught me to use a spoon, and that I shouldn't go to bed with chewing gum. And we went through a lot of peanut butter. She didn't tell me, or I'm sorry, she didn't sell me to the circus even during my teen years. Now here I am practically all grown up, and she's still teaching me about helping others. The golden rule still counts, and there's nothing better than being with your kids, right? So let me tell you a little bit about her. My mom was born on a farm in Cincinnati, Ohio, where Mary really did have a little lamb. She moved to Medford, Oregon, that's Southern Oregon, when she was a teenager. She met my dad in high school. I love that. There's a whole bunch of years that went by, and somewhere in there was that miraculous event where she gave birth to me. She was a non-traditional student in college. She graduated with her MSW on her 50th birthday. She taught Walla Walla College in Walla Walla, Washington, which is now Walla Walla University. She taught sociology courses at the University of Baraton in Kenya for 4 years. And she was actually in Kenya during the Rwandan Genocide and when Nelson Mandela was elected president of South Africa. So literally the worst of times and the best of times. She came back to Walla Walla College, now known as Walla Walla University, and taught for the social work department until retirement. She moved back to Southern Oregon, where she still hangs with her high school buddies. She's been a member of the Citizens Review Board for Jackson County for about 13 years. She's been a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate, for 5 years. Last year, she won the Steadfast Award for CASA, and I tried to figure out what that meant. I think it means she was the best CASA in the whole wide world. So maybe you correct me on that, Mom. She's a 2-time cancer survivor thriver. She loves animals. She gave me 2 little brothers. Gilly is a rescue Rhodesian Ridgeback. And he's the kind of brother that you like, even though, you know, he slobbers a little bit. And then Webster is a rescue cat who my mom calls a lot of bad names, but for the sake of this meeting, we're just going to say he's a poop. And because mom has a potty mouth. And she lives near Ashland, Oregon, which is an awesome place to be if you love live theater, which she does. She loves art and crafting. She loves moving her furniture like all the time. Let's see, we're not going to sing a duet this year. So without further ado, I give you my mom, Mary Jenny Saltmarsh, who, if you haven't figured out by now, is kind of awesome. Mom?
How do I follow that? Thank you, Kathleen. Now to get down to the business that I came for. I have had friends in Rotary for many years and I've heard about programs other places, but as I began preparing for today, I talked to Kathleen about the different programs that you have going, and they're right up my alley. I mean, reading to school children, leadership camps, honoring children, the place for homeless kiddos. All of this is just absolutely so amazing. Your object of Rotary, integrity and service, these are values that I hold absolutely dear to my heart. Your four-way test, which has already been read today, I won't repeat that. But when I was teaching, I would ask my students to ask this question before making any decision. What effect will my decision make on all parties involved? And that's your four-way test. I mean, you know, you guys have it all together. That's all there is to it. In my family of growing up, the culture was quite a bit different then, and as was my family. Children were pretty much to be seen, but not heard. If there was laughter at meal times, we were quieted quickly because, after all, the men needed to listen to the news. If we talked about fun at school, that meant we weren't paying attention. All rules applied to anyone except our family dog, Tippy, who did anything he wanted and got by with it because he was Dad's dog. Our family culture was really more about rules than hugs. So it's no surprise that I chose social work and psychology as my fields of study. In 1992, I moved to East Africa to teach at the university in Kenya. The experiences that I had there changed me more than anything else in my life. I saw cultures at all levels, religious, tribal cultures, cultures that are established as a result of extreme poverty, which I had never seen like I saw in Kenya. Family values were both very frustrating and also extremely heartwarming. I experienced a graciousness and a hospitality that was never curbed by poverty. Immediately, I knew that I was the learner there. I was there to learn. Before going, I decided, okay, I'm going to be very noble about this. My mantra would be, I am a guest in this country. However, with my personality closely sidled up to, as you have witnessed, my daughter, my primary goal there was to just continue asking forgiveness instead of permission, which I spent a lot of time doing. We all had busy schedules on campus. We were located in a rural area, so outside of our compound were absolutely beautiful, beautiful landscapes. And often, just to lower the stress, I go there walking in the afternoons or on the weekends. One day I was walking along this dirt road and I found this kind of a crudely constructed concrete building. As I was walking into the grounds of it, a young boy came out and invited me into his classroom. In fact, that picture there on the right is the classroom that I walked into. It was a class standard 8, which would be typically our grade 8. And the teacher happened to be gone that day. So he said, would you come in and answer some questions about America? So I answered questions about McDonald's, about movies, a little bit about school. And I said, okay, now it's time for me to ask questions. And in the process of getting information on these kiddos, I realized that there was no library in the school. Well, as I walked back to campus, that really bothered me. I thought, how can children learn without books? And there were absolutely no books in that classroom. So I began the next couple of weeks writing letters to friends in the States and saying, you know, we need a library at this school. Can you help me out? Within a couple of months, bags of books started arriving on our university campus. I got my students involved, and every week we would go out with my trunk full of books and check out books to these kiddos, kind of bookmobile style. At the end of nearly 4 years, we had just under 1,000 books that had been donated. I was amazed. The school made this little room for us in the center of this very crude old building, and set up shelves, and my students and I went in, shelved the books, set up a little bit of a checkout system, and this school finally had a library. I was so proud of my students for the work that they had done on that. Our rules on our university campus were extremely patriarchal. I had a student come to me one day by the name of Anna. She was actually ready to graduate, but her major professor had told her that she could not graduate because he wouldn't sign off on her. And I said, well, what reason did he give? And she told me that he said that she had embarrassed him. And I thought, you know, there's got to be some holes in this story someplace. So I took the student and we went to his office, and I said, could you please tell me why Anna is not able to graduate? And so he did basically the same story she had told. He didn't leave anything out, and neither had she. And I said, but she has completed all of her education requirements. We can't stop her from graduating. Well, he wouldn't sign off on her. So, as no woman should do, I went above his head. And I went to the dean of the School of Humanities, and I talked to him. He didn't really listen very well, but in the end, Anna was able to graduate. We had another student who, during my tenure there, tried to commit suicide. A beautiful young woman who just had some emotional struggles that she was not dealing with well. A couple of days later, I was notified that there was going to be a discipline committee meeting. So I went, not knowing what the agenda was, and this young woman's name was brought up. And the suggestion was made that she should be expelled from school. And I was appalled. I said, why? Why? First of all, why is the decision being made or left up to the discipline committee? And they said, well, the counseling committee isn't very active. And I said, then let's make it active. I said, we have resources here to help this young woman. In the end, the committee voted to expel her. I was really upset. A few days later, the parents came to get their student and their child, and I was walking across campus as I saw the chair of the discipline committee meeting walking across campus. And I said, you're not really going to expel her, are you? Well, that's what the committee voted, he said. And I said, but we're not a rubber stamp to your choices. He went on to the meeting. The girl ended up not being expelled because the parents were so upset that they sat there and cried. And they said, if she doesn't get an education, she has no chance in life. Fortunately, he changed his mind and she was able to stay. In April of 1994, the Rwandan Genocide took place. On our campus, we had both Tutsis and Hutus. Every one of them lost family members. I did much of the grief counseling for these students, those who were willing to come and talk about it. One of the students that I spent a lot of time with, actually, because I was also a teacher of his in a couple of classes, was Jonathan. He had gotten word right away that his mother a brother, and his sister had all been killed. His father and paternal grandmother remained alive because they'd gone to Zaire for a funeral, and they stayed there until it was safe enough to come back to Rwanda. Jonathan's father was the manager for the Palmolive Company there in Kigali, which is the capital of Rwanda. That summer, I came home and I couldn't get Jonathan off my mind. He was a young man with such potential. So I got on the phone knowing not at all what I was doing, and I called Palmolive. I got a hold of the headquarters in New York City. And I would kind of introduce my idea and, well, you need to talk to so-and-so and so-and-so, until finally there was a woman who was willing to listen. And I said, look, all I'm asking is that you pay Jonathan's tuition so that he can finish college, because otherwise his father has no employment now because the factory had shut down, the Palmolive factory in Kigali. I went back to campus in August, and in September, when students started returning, Jonathan comes running into my office with his big grin. And he said, well, I have two bits of good news. He said, one is my sister was found. Neighbors had seen the violence that was happening and was able to rescue her and took her away. It was actually, she was gone about a couple of months before they felt it was safe to bring her back to where her father was. The second was that he would be able to finish school. So fortunately, all that did work out. So his tuition was paid. I think probably more than any place or any time in my life, I can actually say I earned a degree in advocacy when I was in Kenya. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It kept my mind, my brain moving and going. And then an interesting thing happened because when I came home to the US and I was hired at Walla Walla University to teach, I realized that there were some things that I needed to do for myself. And so what I had learned in advocacy in Kenya, I applied to me, and it worked to advocate for myself too. And that's good for people to know. It was in 1996 that I returned to teach. In the first few months, I was really busy setting up classes and lesson plans and all of that. But teaching in the School of Social Work, you've got to be a part of the community. You can't just sit in your office and read books or grade papers or prepare lectures. You've got to be out knowing what's going on. So I decided to volunteer at a homeless shelter in Walla Walla. I began by just kind of talking to some of the homeless women. Well, really, I was listening more to some of the challenges that they had. Occasionally I could connect them with a service provider, but it was just their sad, sad stories that I listened to. After a few weeks of that, the director called me in and he said, Mary, would you be willing to teach parenting classes? And I said, sure, sounds like fun. And he said, well, the board has decided that all mothers who are here with their children in our shelter are required to take parenting classes. And I said, so what you're suggesting is that if a mother is homeless, she's a bad parent. Oh, no, I don't mean that at all, he said. But I knew that this was another opportunity to work with these women. And so I said, sure, okay, I'll teach parenting classes. So the first time we met was by this time it was spring, and we were out in the yard. There was a big picnic table and there were probably 8 moms there. And I said, look, you and I both know that this is required. I don't necessarily agree with it, but what I want to do is make this about you. What do you want to talk about? And they began opening up. And really, I did nothing but just be there. They were building a support system among themselves, which is so valuable because so many people in those situations don't have a healthy support system. One of the responsibilities that I had as a faculty member was to supervise both undergrad and graduate students in their practicums or their internships. Most of what I did in that capacity was to supervise my students who were doing their placements in the Department of Children and Family Services. But the foster care system is a system of heartache and salvation at the same time. It's horrible to take kids away from their parents, but it may be the only salvation that they have. The number of kiddos that we have in foster care in the United States is horrendous. On any one given day, there are over 441,000 children in foster care. And this to me is mind-blowing. A child enters foster care every 2 minutes in the United States. Such a sad, sad idea because it's so devastating to kids. It may be their only safety, but it's still a difficult thing to have done. Our national statistics, and I won't go over these, you can read them, but 49% of our kiddos actually go back to mom and dad, or mom or dad, and they are able to stay connected even if they don't go directly back with their parents, simply because we often are placing kiddos with family, extended family. Another very sad fact is that this little girl, I've been in foster care for 1,015 days. The average child spends more than a year in foster care. After retiring from teaching, I moved back to Southern Oregon, which I think Kathleen mentioned in the intro. It was great to just all of a sudden have a schedule that I could do, that I could make. I could do nothing or lots of things in a day. But after a few months, I realized that I needed more meaning in my life. I heard about the Citizen Review Board in 2008, took their training and became a part of it. So what is the Citizen Review Board? And it is something that the average person doesn't really know too much about. In the early 1970s, there was a huge spike in the number of children in foster care. And at that time, there weren't regulations relating to the length of care, their length of care, reasons for removal, services that would be provided for them and their families. There needed to be oversight in the foster care system. So the federal government teamed up with the state federal government through Title IV monies, and then through the state to establish these boards for accountability for the Department of Children and Family Services. In Colorado, I will call it a board because that's what I'm involved in here in Jackson County in Oregon. But in Colorado, it's known as the Citizen Review Panel. Our Jackson County Board meets monthly, and we review anywhere between 6 and well, even 5 and 8 or 9 cases. The board members are made up of ordinary citizens. Many of us have education backgrounds, some medical, and basically it's about people who are interested in the safety and health of children and families. What are the kinds of things that bring these kiddos to us or to the board, or initially, of course, being taken from their homes? We see more and more parents who are in and out of prison now. There's a lot of physical abuse, so much more sexual abuse than should ever be. The majority of the cases relate to substance abuse. Neglect, which may surprise some of you, is actually the abuse that has the longest term effect, because basically what it's saying is, you're really not important enough for me to care about. Many parents will leave their children with unsafe people while they go off to commit their crimes or get high or whatever it is. It's very sad. Now, I want to go through quickly the findings that our Citizens Review Board go over for each case. This can, I don't want to take a long time, but at these meetings, at these citizen review boards, all the legal parties of a case come together. Now, of course, we're doing it through a, WebEx, not Zoom, but we're still meeting. It's just that we, of course, don't meet in person. But we're looking at the, was there reasonable efforts done to prevent removal? In other words, could a safety plan have been worked out so that the parents would have someone else in their home to provide safety for the kiddos? Did they try to place them with a relative or someone that they knew to try to prevent as much trauma as possible? What has DHS done? That's not Department of Homeland Security. That is Department of Children and Family Services, Child Protective Services. We need to have appropriate services for the children in place relative to education, medical needs. Occasionally, Department of Developmental Delays is brought in. There need to be services to the parents. We're checking up on those. Are they getting all the services that they need? Is this being done quickly? In other words, we want to get this case taken care of. We want to get these kids into the home with the folks, if that's appropriate, or into a forever home, if that's needed. What kind of progress have the parents made? Have they completed the services, drug and alcohol, anger management, domestic violence, whatever services that are necessary? During this entire time, a concurrent plan is being developed. Is there some place that these children can go if mom and dad can't take them back? And that is automatic. Sometimes parents get very defensive and we say, no, this is a part of the law. This we have to do. Is the Department of Human Services in compliance with the case plan, with court orders, and with CRB recommendations? In other words, the recommendations that our board makes. Is this plan appropriate for the child? We look at all of these findings to make sure that everything about this family is being addressed so that hopefully we can get the kind of work done and accomplished that need be to get this family back together. Here's a couple of slides on Colorado statistics. Now, I believe this was 2016. I think that it was 2016 that these statistics come from. 39% of our kiddos are reunited with their families. Now, their own families. Now, also, you see that 36% exit to live with relatives or guardians. So it doesn't mean that if they don't go back to mom and dad that they will never see them again. And all of those kinds of things are taken into consideration. This is a sad statistic. 80% of your general population here in Colorado Springs among high school kiddos graduate from college. Now, that one is good, but 33% of the youth involved in the foster care system graduate. A big number difference. Here, 60% of boys who age out or are legally emancipated have been convicted of a crime. 7 in 10 girls will become pregnant before age 21. These are kids who have been a part of this system. And these are sad statistics too. The number of homeless kiddos who have been through the system who become homeless, who live in poverty, 5 to 10 times more likely to enter the juvenile justice system. But this last one is just an ongoing problem. Over 25% of foster alumni are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome. That's nearly double the rate of US veterans. Very often, these cases have a domino effect. where they grow up in the foster system. If they don't get connected in a loving, helpful, safe way, during that time, they go ahead and live the same life that their parents did. Very, very sad. Kiddos need to learn coping skills, and they can do that when they are when they have found love and safety and consistency. I'm going to give you just one case that is the worst case that I have ever dealt with on our board in the years that I've served. It was a family with 6 children. The oldest was 12 at the time. All the girls had been sexually abused. That was 4 of the girls had been sexually abused. No one was allowed to go to school. There was very little food, and what there was had little nutrition. All the kids had been physically abused. They were locked in rooms for hours at a time. Mom was also a victim of all of the abuse that the kids suffered. Mom was a victim of that as well. When the Department of Children and Family Services investigated it, someone reported them. It was investigated. They called the police in immediately. Father is now in prison and will be for a very long time. The family is now living in another state, adopted by one of the sets of grandparents. And they had to come back to Jackson County for the adoption ceremony, since it was a Jackson County case. And so our board got to go and see the adoption ceremony. Every child deserves a forever family. Now, I wanted, in all this work, and I was enjoying the contribution, the little contribution that I could give to it, and yet I wanted something a little bit more intimate, where I could get to know these kiddos. And so I became a CASA. And I'm sure that all of you are familiar with a court-appointed special advocate. Some places call them guardian ad litems. We are appointed by the judges after a number of hours of training, and then we're required continued training each year. The CASA is a legal part of the case, which means that we can talk to the counselors, we go and visit the kiddos in schools, we get acquainted with the children, the foster families, the caseworkers. I work very, very closely with the attorneys. The CASA is the child's voice in court. The health and safety of our kiddos is our responsibility. Okay, this is all grassroots stuff that I talked about, and the kind of things that I really, really enjoy. So what maybe could you give another hour a week or 2 hours a week, or maybe that extra check that could be written? Right now, all of our agencies are challenged financially because they haven't been able to have their big fundraisers and so forth like they have in the past. And so it's been tough on everyone. But if you have time to become a CASA, I talked, the slide you're seeing right now, I talked with Carrie Kahn from the CASA of the Pikes Peak region, a delightful gal. And if any of you are interested in becoming a CASA, give her a call. I've got the number is right there. Or would you like to financially support some of these agencies? It doesn't have to be CASA, just look for the agencies in your area. Do you like to shop? I went in one time and went to a 60 to 80% rack in a store, just started pulling things off the racks, got this huge pile of clothes over to the checkout, and I already had a 30% discount plus the 60 to 80 that was advertised. And the clerk said, what are you doing with all these clothes? And I said, well, I'm giving them to an agency for kids who are in foster care. And so she reached underneath her little desk area and she pulled out another 10% discount just because I was going to be donating, donating the clothes. Foster kids, when they're being removed from their home, most of the kids come with all of their possessions in garbage bags? Do you have old suitcases, old tote bags, old backpacks? Donate them. There's all kinds of needs. World, excuse me, I need to, sorry about that, guys. World peace and understanding begins with our children. I'd like you to imagine, please, a world where every child's hurt, every child's cry, and every child's need is met by a loving adult. But to make this happen, we may be planting trees under shade we may not sit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mom. We don't have a lot of time for questions. We're 4 minutes from, you know, when we get the hook. So, so what I'm going to do is put this next slide up so that if you have questions for my mom, she can be contacted at that email address. And I think that we had a couple of questions come in from the chat. Okay. One was, let's see. Are the library books in English? What are typical book subjects? I guess in Kenya?
Yes, actually they were all in English because they were sent by my American friends, but the students are learning English. By the time they reach standard 8, they can speak English quite fluently. That's why we would, the first 3 grades particularly, we just gave picture books, you know, we learned picture books too and so forth. One of the things that the teachers appreciated most was many of my teacher friends sent teacher editions. Those teachers did not have teacher editions to teach from.
That's really cool. One more question, and then we'll probably have to close here. What is the one thing that stuck with you that you learned in Africa and that's come through and is still a part of you, of all the lessons involved in that?
You know, I go back to advocacy because there's nothing that revs me faster than confronting a problem and people just kind of shaking their heads, and I say, no, there's got to be a problem. There's got to be a fix here. We can take care of this. And that's my challenge. I love being an advocate.
Well, thank you so much, Mom. Before we all sign off, though, I wanted to thank you again for your time and all the time that it's taken to put all this together and everything. I have a gift for you, Mom. Our district governor, our district assistant governor for Area 2 is Jane Hamoud, and she is an expert at making pretty things in her kiln. So I will be sending this to you that she made.
Dragonflies are my absolute favorite.
I don't know how she knew that. Anyway,
no idea.
But I wanted to thank you though for being here. Thank you to my fellow Rotarians for being part of this meeting. Thank you to President Rodney Galat for running the Zoom machine, and to our presenters today. I appreciate it, and our many guests and our esteemed Rotarian leaders. I probably missed some that logged in a little bit late, but thank you so much to everybody for being here today. And have a great weekend and go forth and cause peace and understanding. Thank you.